Hi folks, this is Lee Universe with What is Right and Wrong. This is Sean Spicer's first press conference, Trump's press secretary, and let's get to it.
Good evening. Thank you guys for coming. I know our first official press briefing is going to be on Monday, but I wanted to give you a few updates on the president's activities. But before I get to the news of the day, I think I'd like to discuss a little bit of the coverage of the past 24 hours. Yesterday, at a time when our nation and the world was watching the peaceful transition of power, and as the president said, the transition and the balance of power from Washington to the citizens of the United States, some members of the media were engaged in deliberately false reporting. For all the talk about the proper use of Twitter, two instances yesterday stand out. One was a particularly egregious example in which a reporter falsely tweeted out that the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. had been removed from the Oval Office. After it was pointed out that this was just plain wrong, the reporter casually reported and tweeted out and tried to claim that a Secret Service agent must have just been standing in front of it. This was irresponsible and reckless.
Okay, this is a good example of how the left uses a little truth to lie. How they spend very little effort whatsoever in trying to delve deep into what's the actual truth. In other words, doing their actual job, as it concerns the leftist media anyway. They don't understand how to actually investigate things and verify. What's the old saying, trust but verify? I mean, this is sickening. Especially this kind of thing. Because it inflames race relations. I mean, this is exactly how the left gets blacks to vote for them. Not just through welfare and everything else they do. But this right here is propaganda. They make it seem as if the right, conservatives, are racist. I mean, it's just sick. Because they know most people, especially lower intellectual and moral people, don't spend the time and effort to find out the actual truth of things. So they can just tell them anything. But there's always a little grain of truth. And that little grain in this case was, he didn't see the statue, so it must not have been there. And that's the lie. Little truth to lie. Just like the devil. It's the devil to the T of the left. Devil is about perversion, lies, distortion, corruption. It's entirely what the left does. And it's sick. It's sick. I mean, this kind of thing especially. I mean, just evil, the things the left have been saying. Calling the entire half of the country racist, Nazi, homophobes, blah, blah, blah. Just sick, just sick.
Secondly, photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual. This was also the first time that fencing and magnetometers went as far back on the wall, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from being able to access the mall as quickly as they had in inaugurations past. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. By the way, this applies to any attempts to try to count the number of protesters today in the same fashion. We do know a few things, so let's go through the facts. We know that from the platform where the president was sworn in to 4th Street holds about 250,000 people. From 4th Street to the media tent is about another 220,000. And from the media tent to the Washington Monument, another 250,000 people. All of this space was full when the president took the oath of office, We know that 420,000 people used the D.C. Metro public transit yesterday, which actually compares to 317,000 that used it for President Obama's last inaugural. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe. Even the New York Times printed a photograph showing that a misrepresentation of the crowd in the original tweet in their paper, which showed the full extent of the support, depth, and crowd and intensity that existed. These attempts to lessen the enthusiasm of the inauguration are shameful and wrong. The president was also at the Central, as you know, the president was at the Central Intelligence Agency today and greeted by a raucous overflow crowd of some 400 plus CIA employees. There were over 1,000 requests to attend, prompting the president to note that he'll have to come back to greet the rest. The employees were ecstatic that he's the new commander-in-chief, and he delivered them a powerful and important message. He told them he has their back, and they were grateful for that. They gave him a 5-minute standing ovation at the end in a display of their patriotism and their enthusiasm for his presidency. I'd also note that it's a shame that the CIA didn't have a CIA director to be with him today when he visited, because the Democrats have chosen, Senate Democrats are stalling the nomination of Mike Pompeo and playing politics with national security. That's what you guys should be writing and covering. That this, instead of sowing division about tweets and false narratives, the president is committed to unifying our country, and that was the focus of his inaugural address. This kind of dishonesty in the media, the challenging that bringing about our nation together is making it more difficult. There's been a lot of talk in the media about the responsibility to hold Donald Trump accountable. And I'm here to tell you that it goes two ways. We're going to hold the press accountable as well. The American people deserve better, and as long as he serves as the messenger for this incredible movement, he will take his message directly to the American people, where his focus will always be. And with that, a few other updates from the day.
Okay, let me show why Sean Spicer isn't lying. And the leftists in the media, leftist media are. Look at this picture. It's quite full there, right? And that's not overly convincing. Here's 2009. And here's 2017. Pretty much the same. See, this is the 2009, and this was what they claimed was right before Trump's inauguration. 45 minutes is what they said. See, here's the same building, same building. Now look. Do you see all the people there? There's a little space there and a little space there, but it's definitely not that big of a space. But let's look closer. See that? There's another shot there. Another shot. Quite full. Now here's Britt Hume. He says he was in the building at the bottom of the picture. Picture on the right. And he says that shot was taken earlier in the day. And by the way, PBS, they tried to do a time lapse. They put out a time lapse, but I have a feeling it's a lie. Because their time lapse shows exactly this same picture, basically the entire time. Britt Hume, being on the ground, specifically says he saw it much more crowded. But let's not trust that. Here's Trump. See Trump's right there. This is CNN's own gigapixel application. It's pretty amazing. Watch this. Look at this. There's Trump. That's right when he was speaking, which was right after the inauguration. Now look at this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Okay, now see? We have a little bit of space there. But again, let's look at the original. Let's see. Watch this. See? Look at the distance comparison. I mean, it's a little bit, but not too much. There's a tiny little bit there. It's a tiny little bit there, and just a little bit here. So there is some space, but it's not even close to like this. Not even. I mean, this is more full here. This is more full here. A little more full there. This is mostly all full. There's just a little space back here. So basically all this, other than just one or two little tiny spots. This one I think, and this one, something like that. And here. All this is full, pretty much. See that? See, that's not very much space there. You can tell by the size of the people. That's not even, that is way more populated than what this picture shows. Way more. But not only that, I was on the inauguration day, I was clicking around to various videos of different people who were reporting. One was an InfoWars reporter. He was interviewing people in one of the lines to get in here. And the line wasn't moving, basically. Look, there's more people here. More people here. Look at that, look at that. People there. So he was interviewing people in the line, and the line wasn't moving. And the people there were saying that, and as well as I think he said it as well, that there was one of these areas where the entrances are for people to get in. I'm assuming maybe one of these sides. There was supposed to be 4 entrances. Only one of them, that particular line, was open. The other 3 were actually being blocked by protesters, by anti-Trump protesters, which is why the one available line wasn't moving really at all. And there were blocks of people in that line still. And the inauguration was like just starting or about to start or something like that. So they weren't going to be able to get in. So, when Spicer said that it was more than likely the most watched inauguration, especially if you include all the world, which is what he also said, he was telling the truth. Even on the ground, if all the people had been able to get in, it would have been just as full as Obama's. But even then, it was still, as you can see, it's still mostly full. There's just a little bit there, tiny little bit there, and a little bit there. But it is full. I mean, just use your brain. Even if you take into account the angles. Now, people might want to say, oh, the angles. Oh, see, look at this. Here's the angle too. It's clearly earlier in the day. It's pretty much the same angle as this. Just a little bit lower. You can clearly see there's far more. I mean, we can get up close. You see this? See that? There isn't that much space. See, compared to this, see the difference? But again, take into account all the people that couldn't get in as well as all the people watching. So every word Spicer said was absolutely true. Also, something that's funny. This right here is actually a video. See if I play it. See this video? This is still shot. See this? See what is weird about this? Is you see the color? I mean, is every single person wearing like a pink hat? Not a pink or a reddish, dark red, purple hat. I mean, see look at the colors. See the colors? That was Trump's. This is Obama's. This is Trump's. See this? What is this? This almost looks like. This looks almost like they. Like some video editing was done. Like they, made it more populated. I mean, everyone has a flag. I don't know what. It doesn't seem natural at all. It's like poppy field or some weird crazy thing. I mean, what is that? Anyway, so I think I've sufficiently demonstrated that leftist media was lying. I mean, it's clear as day. Yeah, there's a little there, a tiny little bit there, a little there. So that's 3 areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, this is 5 areas. 5 areas. Huge. See? 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. 3 compared to 5. See that? And remember this one. The building. See that? This is the building. I mean, it's clear as day. The media was lying. Clear as day. Clear as day. Alright, so I hope I've demonstrated that well enough. So, both things Spicer mentioned in this video, he was absolutely telling the truth.
The president had a constructive conversation with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada about strengthening the relationship between our two nations. They also discussed setting up additional meetings in the days to come, which we will follow up on. He also spoke to Prime Minister Peña Nieto of Mexico and talked about a visit on trade, immigration, and security that will occur on the 31st. The president will welcome his first foreign leader this Thursday when the United Kingdom's Theresa May will come to Washington on Friday. On tomorrow, the president will oversee his assistants to the president being sworn in. He will then, the staff will then have an ethics briefing and be a briefing on the proper use and handling of classified information. Further updates as far as what he will do. Oh, and then in the evening, he will have a reception for law enforcement and first responders that helped support the inauguration. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I will see you on Monday.
And thank you for joining me. What is right and wrong. And remember to subscribe and choose the right.
Women's March.
How about the
And
Obama
you
campaign?
can't say no one has numbers and then say it was the largest audience ever.